Welcome in the kitchen. We've not been in the kitchen in a while, have we? But we are tonight. This is Monday. Mexican Monday. It's what we're having. Mexican Monday. I'm going to fix us some enchiladas, some rice, and some refried beans. Here's my refried beans. Yeah, they're just out of the can. I don't make them from scratch. We just open up a can. Some people make them from scratch, and if that's your forte and that's what you want to do, I say you should do that. If that is what your little heart desires, then go for it. I'm going to put a little bit of water in them so they can get hot here on the stove. And in this pot right over here, I'll bring y'all over here a little closer. Bring it down just a little bit. I can't set you back there. In this pot right here, we've got our rice. I've got some mushrooms I got out of the freezer, some onions, some peppers, and some celery. All out of my freezer. They look just like this. It's in this pot right here, this skillet. This is what I'm going to cook my meat in. So, these are cooking all the water out of them. And got some butter in there. I'm going to throw some rice in there. And this is what I use when I make my Mexican rice. This right here. This tomato bouillon. It's the one with the red lid. Okay? I think it's tomato and chicken. But it's red. Tomato bouillon with chicken flavor. Okay? It's good in a lot of stuff. So, the water's about cooked out of that. Turn it down to about medium. Yeah, the water's just about all cooked out of there. I'm going to add 1.5 cups of rice to this. There's a cup. There's a 1/2 cup. Gotta get me out a spoon here. Stir this up good. Y'all know I like to kind of brown my rice a little bit before I throw the liquid to it. Keeps it from being so sticky. That's how you make non-sticky rice. Alrighty, now then, let's go ahead and add. I'm just going to sprinkle that on there. That looks like about enough to me. And here's our water. Turn the lights on. Y'all, he heard me. He knew y'all were in here with me. Come turn the lights on. Yes, he did. Looks like he's been asleep. You've been in there sleeping.
I'm gonna grass pizza.
Not tonight. We're gonna have Mexican Monday. You want some refried beans and rice?
Yes!
Alright, that's what we're having. Mama's fixing it right now.
Yes!
That's what I'm cooking. Got the rice going right here in this pot. Cooking you
Do
some
you
rice.
wanna go to Mexican restaurant?
Yeah, we're going right over here to Mama Rita's at the table.
Yes!
Mamacita, whatever. I don't speak Spanish.
Yes!
Yes, we're going to have Mexican right over here.
Yes!
Yes, we are.
Alright,
Let's turn this on, and we're going to get all the water cooked out of that too. Stir up our beans. Right here. Alrighty. Yeah, I'm just using this enchilada sauce right here. I like the red.
Do you wanna go to Pawnee Foods Mexican restaurant?
No, we're going to eat right here. Mama's cooking Mexican tonight.
Do you wanna go to Johnson C? Mangoes. McAllister restaurant.
No. Oh, here comes the mister. He's got story time for you
Do you want to go to what's so blue? McAllister restaurant.
Alright, all the water's out of this now. And then we're in our ground beef. Onions and peppers. That's what I've got in here. And I threw some celery in. I forgot that I wasn't going to put celery in it. But you know what? It'll be just fine. Just like that. Down a little bit. It's getting too hot on me. And I'm also going to throw in just a little bit of beef bouillon right here. Sprinkle a little bit across our meat. Just for a little added flavor right there. And I did that instead of salt and pepper, okay? You can just do salt and pepper if that's what you've got. And that's what you want. You can do any kind of seasoning that you want. Add just some Mexican seasoning, some taco seasoning, you know, whatever. And that would be fine too. All cooked up. Then we're going to stuff it into our enchiladas. And then we're going to pop those babies in the oven for just a few minutes. And while those are baking in the oven, Mister's going to tell y'all a good story. Okay? He's got a good story to tell. Take a gander at our rice here. See how it's doing. Oh, it's doing lovely. Turn it on down to low as I can get it right now. Still got plenty of water in it. Let's get up. See if it's got enough flavor in it. Or if we need a little more something. Nope, I believe that's good. I can turn it off because we're ready to put it together. get y'all back here. Get all this stuff back out of our way. Okay. Y'all see good now? Alright. And I've got flour tortillas. I know for enchiladas you should have corn, but I do not have corn. I have flour. So that's what we're using. Huh? Oh, he said call them burritos. I'm going to come in here with this meat mixture right like that. This is the way you fold them, like this. I may not have enough meat in them. You roll them up just like that. Matter of fact, I don't have enough meat in that one. Oh well. We'll put more meat in these. Two. Let's see if I can get 2 more in there. I think I can. One more. There's our last one. Wasn't that quick? That was super quick, wasn't it? All right, we're going to put our sauce over them. Oh, I'm overflowing going out the edges. Alright, now let's put some cheese on there. And I just got shredded cheddar cheese, white cheddar. Be in there. Huh? It's the same thing. I just had this. I thought I'd use it first. Alright, have you like? Now then, we've got lots of good gooey cheese on top here. Or it will be gooey when it melts, right? Alright, are y'all ready for story time? I'm going to put these in the oven. And while they're in the oven, and I'm cutting up some lettuce and tomatoes, the mister is here for story time. Alright? So, come on over. It's story time.
Why do I feel like I became a recurring segment?
You are. That's what you are.
Oh, I'm
Our
right.
story time.
How long do I have to tell a story?
Well, as long as it takes.
I have the ability to take a 10-minute story and make it a 20-minute story,
That's all right.
or whatever
Well,
else.
these things have to bake for about 15 minutes, so you're good.
What kind of story am I supposed to tell?
Tell about Gran and the cat.
Oh, Granny Cat.
Gran and the cat. This is Gran and the cat.
Okay. Granny, that's what I call her. I never call her Granny. Well, yeah, I think I might call her
Later in life, I think I might call her Gran.
Granny. But anyhow. First, I have to preface all this to keep from all of you reporting my grandmother to the SPCA. Going out and digging her up. But so I got to give you a little bit of context to this. My granny was just an old country woman, and that's all I ever really knew her as an old country woman. She was well in her 60s before I was ever born, and you know, she always wore a house dress. And, you know, I think at some point, maybe earlier than that, at some point, she had a mild stroke or something, and it affected her walking a little bit. And she always walked with a cane. Even though she was healthy otherwise, but she always walked with a cane. That might have been part of the deal with, well,
I think I heard she had rheumatic fever.
well, this might be, yeah, my story.
Okay.
She had that as a child. Anyhow, so I said, she's just an old country woman wearing a house dress. You know, she's just my granny. She's not like today's young grannies of about 50 that look all hot wearing skinny jeans or whatever else. You know, so she looks, you know, like your average grandma. You know, well, I knew this being grandma. Anyhow, like a lot of people in the country, she spent a lot of time sitting on the front porch. And about 6 months out of the year, she'd be on the front porch. You know, she'd get her work done in the mornings often. And in the afternoons, you know, she'd spend her time out on the porch. And she had a wonderful porch. Had a big swing out there that she'd found some old cushions that went in the couch that she put on that swing. And let me tell you, they fit perfectly. And I mean, they were comfortable. Incredibly comfortable. You know, she had two put together. It gave her a nice place right there to stick her crossword puzzle down in it. She got down the newspaper. You know, she'd been sitting there working her crossword puzzle. Of course, she took a lot of liberties. Sometimes she would create words sometimes and things to get her puzzle words. She always worked a crossword puzzle, and a pen. And I took that habit up too. I cannot work one with a pencil. But anyhow, she would sit there on that porch, you know, most all afternoons during spring and summer and early fall. The only time she wasn't on that porch pretty much in the afternoon was when she had to watch her story, which back then I guess there were people referred to soap operas, which I don't think there's any such thing anymore as her story. She always watched The World Turns. And anyhow, so she sat on this porch, and you know, during the summer, and there was a road in front of the public road was in front of the house. You know, back in those days, the old farm people, they built their house up next to the road close, so they didn't want to have to get out and mess up their pasture fields and things. And, you know, it was in my earliest days, I remember it was a gravel road, and there were just about 6 houses past my granny's house. Kind of a dead end. We knew absolutely everybody that came up the road. You know, any car we didn't recognize, boy, it just got burnt. It got a hole burned in it from our stairs. And she just sat out there, you know, and watching. We have stray animals sometimes in the community, and this one particularly involved a stray cat that came there. Now, before I go any further, let me back this up. My grandmother, she raised a family during the Great Depression, and you know, as I said, they were country people. They were country people. They didn't have much. They didn't have a lot of money. They worked on the farms. They worked hard. You know, and they raised tobacco, get a little bit of cash money, pay their property taxes, you know, Christmas presents and a few things to buy some fabric so they could sew clothes that they had to have. You know,
right there,
and all that thing. But you know, and of course they had a lot of animals. You know, cows and pigs and chickens and you know, dogs and cats. But back in those days, animals were for a purpose. They weren't pets. You know, you may have had a dog. Well, you might have liked the dog and this and that, but the dog's primary reason was to keep other dogs and animals run off from the farm area and kind of be a watchdog and maybe help herd up some cattle and things. And you know, even a cat would be its job was to run off mice. So my granny would always say sometimes, you were talking about wanting to feed the cattle, oh, just go catch a rat. And even my mother told me this, that my grandfather in the barn, he had a big old barrel, like a 55-gallon barrel, wherever the lid on it, and he kept his grain in there stuffed, you know, to feed cows and horses and things. But he also kept a big black snake in there. And the reason he kept that black snake in there was to catch the mice that might try to get in there in the barrel and eat the grain. So everything growing up, my grandmother, the time she grew up and through her adulthood and things, it was all about all animals had their place, and animals did not belong in the house. No animals in the house. Dogs were outside, cats were outside, everything was outside, except maybe for the mice sometimes when the cats didn't do their job. But you know, animals did not come in the house, and animals were not treated as big pets and as substitute children like this method that we have running.
She's a baby.
And yeah, and I can even remember back when I was a kid and stuff, we didn't have animals in the house either, but we had to see where we are now. Okay, with all that said, my grandmother told me this story, and she swore me to secrecy. I might have been about 8 or 9 years old when she told me this story and this happened. And she kind of a little bit embarrassed about this story. She didn't want this to come out. And I kept my promise, and I never told anybody about this story until after she died. And she said one day she was sitting there on her front porch, and there was this old black and white cat that came around. And my granny didn't like cats too much because I guess she's really afraid it's going to get under her feet, you know, and whatever else, and maybe cause her to fall or whatever else. And she's always, you know, beating around on cats. But for some reason she liked animals, but she didn't like animals, if that makes any sense. And here this old cat had come around. And it'd be around the house all the time, be up on the porch, you know, getting around her feet. And she's trying to get in the house and this and that and everything else. One day, I guess she decided she'd had enough of the cat. So she decided she'd heard a humane thing to do was instead of bringing out the 22, that she would put the cat to sleep, because she'd heard about people having animals put to sleep at this time. You know, like your old dog, you know, was hurt and bad shape, you know, put to sleep. So she, you know, of course, you know, you aren't going to take a dog to the veterinarian and have him put to sleep maybe at that time. At least most people would. She sure wouldn't ask anybody. Plus, she wouldn't want to pay whatever it cost. And so I don't know why she had these. I don't know. I guess it was insomnia, worrying about having to deal with me because I stayed with her a lot when I was little. And she had these sleeping pills. So she thought, oh, well, voila. I'll just give this cat some sleeping pills. Because she'd heard about people, you know, committing suicide and stuff by overdosing on sleeping pills. So she took her some sleeping pills and mixed it up in some food and gave it to the cat. Now I don't know how many sleeping pills it takes to put a cat out, and man, obviously she didn't know either as the story progresses. I don't know whether she put 2 or 3 in there or 4. I don't know. You know. So anyhow, she mixes that up and gives it to that old cat. Cat eats it. Next day she comes out on the porch. There lays that cat up out on the porch. Just laid out, just as flat as a board right on the couch. And stiff as a board too. She done the old cat in. Her nemesis was gone. So she decided, best get rid of this cat. Don't want anybody catching me here with a cat. So I can see her right now. She grabbed that cat up. Here she takes off around the house. Head down toward the barn. The barn was about 75 foot behind the house. And behind the house behind the barn was a big rock pile. Well, I can just see her going around the house right now with that cat's paw probably in one hand and her other hand on her cane, making her way down through there. She goes out there and she goes around behind the barn and unceremoniously flings the cat out on the rock pile. I don't think she said a eulogy or anything or words of prayer, even though my grandmother was a Christian woman and she went to church, but I'm not too sure she said any prayers over the cat.
Poor kitty.
And so then she returned to the sanctity of her front porch, a murderer there, and she had no conscience, I assume. Well, she went on. I was like 2 days later, maybe 3 days later. She went out out on the porch and she sat down there. She sat down there rocking away and swinging away. She looks. Here comes that old cat around the corner. The cat, I guess, had been revived. The cat was, I guess, being a religious woman. She
That
thought
was 2 or 3 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2 or 3 days. She thought it was the second coming of Lazarus. So here came that cat around the corner. Well, obviously she had not given enough sleeping pills. Now I don't know how many she'd given. Don't know what the correct dose is to kill a cat with a sleeping pill, and obviously she didn't do it. But as I said, I kept that story for many years. My granny lived probably close to, 12, 15 years after that. And I kept that story, and finally I told it to everybody in the family, and everybody laughed real big about Granny trying to kill the cat. But that's pretty funny. That's just, at least for me it is, but that's the way old people were back then. I know a lot of you probably remember, back in your time, stuff maybe when you were small or hear your parents talk or grandparents, people just did not worship animals like we do this day, make them like children. And,
I saw where somebody had a little cow in the house as a pet.
Well, yeah, or a pot-bellied pig or something.
Yeah, they've had those for a long time.
Now, I guess my next story, unless the channel crashes and everyone, which they'll probably will, I'm working on it. Lynn's views on her cooking shows they're going down. There's a downward direction, and there's been one common factor with the fact her viewership's going down her channel, and that's because I have started to appear on her channel.
No.
It's just amazing if that's what's happening.
No.
But anyhow, it's going downhill because of that. But as I said, the channel does not crash and burn.
It won't.
Before the next time, if the director invites me back again, I think the next story will be about the new car.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'll run her off on and wait for something to do.
We're about ready. Supper's just about ready, y'all. I believe these enchiladas are done. The cheese is kind of melty. That's what we got right there. Don't they look yummy? Enchiladas or burritos, whatever y'all want to call them. Get us a spatula for that. Our rice is done. I gotta get us a spoon for that. or a ladle or something. Here's a spoon. Look at this. Doesn't that look good? I'm gonna bring y'all over so you can see the pots. There's our beans and our enchiladas and our rice. Yummy. Doesn't that look delicious?
I don't have any Mexican stories to tell, but
Si, senor. That's about all I got Mexican. I got a few words from Dora when the kids were small. And a few things from Lowe's.
yeah, I learned a few things from Lowe's. You know, like the restrooms, Banos or something like
Yeah,
that. So,
something like that. Few words from Lowe's and some from Dora. You know, Rojo or something is red.
You know, this has absolutely nothing to do with anything else, but I thought I'd mention this. I was in Lowe's one time and I saw this, and I don't know whether any of you have ever seen this or not. They've got a book up at the customer service desk. It's like got laminated pages in it. It's for their usage. But they've got like words, translations, or whatever on this page from like 80 different languages. So I guess if they have a customer that comes in that speaks some type of
Turkish or
language that
something,
no
I
one
guess.
knows, they can go to that page and reference whatever words they're using.
Coconut's trying to get in, but she can't come in till after we eat because she will jump up and eat Andy's food, and that will make him very sad and upset, and Lord knows we don't need that. So here's our supper, y'all. I'm gonna take it to the table and we're gonna eat supper. And y'all remember, like, share, subscribe, comment, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a video. That'll be all for this one. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.